Good evening and welcome to the Senior Synth stream for the first time after the summer holiday. We hope you enjoyed your holiday, if you had any holiday. And we have some special guests today. The topic is about software for editing hardware synths. It could also be some software synths which also has hardware versions, but let's get back to that. Our guests, two haven't turned up yet, so I will not mention them yet, but we have Marshal Arnold.
How's it going?
And hi, and we have Dan Phillips. Dan.
Hello.
Hi. Dan is working for Cork, and you know him. He's one of the guys behind the Wave State, the Mod Wave, and the last one, is it called Multipoly?
Multipoly, yeah.
Multipoly, yeah. Not the OP6, it's another team, but it's kind of the same.
Similar platform.
Yeah, similar platform. Yeah. And we also have Scott MacLean. Welcome
Hi,
to.
Hey, Scott.
And let's start with Marshall. We usually ask every guest, how's your week been? So let's start with you.
It's been a good week. I actually have a live setup that I've been working a lot with lately. So I spent this last week, which I actually had off from work, working on that. So it's been great.
Nice. And it's been a while since we've seen you online. So we hope you are happy to be back.
I am. Thanks for the invite.
Good. You're welcome. And Dan, how has your week been?
It's been a little bit hectic, working on a new product that's coming out sometime soon. So lots of effort on that, but in general, it's fine.
Ooh.
My daughter's just started school, so that's exciting too.
Yeah. Nice.
Started school again after the summer.
Yeah. That's nice too, but I was thinking about the new product. Before we go to Scott, we also has got Andy on, Synth Addict, Andy Joyce. Welcome, Andy. How's your week been?
Hey, how's it going? Not too eventful, just work, and all kinds of other crazy stuff going on. Non-music related, unfortunately, but getting ready to, I mentioned this on Ramsey earlier, I got going to China in about a week, so that should be kind of fun. So all kinds of wild stuff over there. So yeah, that's the only thing exciting going on right now. So.
And did you get some sleep after Ramsey's?
Got a little bit, yeah.
Good.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. And then to Scott, how has your week been?
It's been a busy week too. Like Dan, I'm working on a new product and doing testing and sound design, and I've had to alter my camera to make sure it doesn't show up because I'm not allowed to let anyone see it. So it's like covered up and camera moved, and make sure that it doesn't get revealed. But
may I ask if it's the same product?
I can't say who it is for or
of
anything
course
about it. But
of course.
It's
something new.
It's something new.
Yeah, good. We look forward to hear more about it at another time. So, welcome to the show. I also have to say welcome to the chatters. So far, we have The Morning I Woke Up Dead. Okay, that's her name. Matt Brown and Probes. And I think there are more there, but they haven't turned up yet. So, there is this function, so perhaps... Okay, there's a beta function in StreamYard where I can show the comments on the screen, but
Kent has a pub going on that could explain where some people are. So
yeah. So I'll turn it off again. Yeah. Okay, let's get started. So the first editor you ever used for a hardware synth, what was that?
David
Cool
Zaccarelli's
stuff.
editor for the DX7, but with my TX7.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Mine was probably, I can't remember the name of it. It was on a Commodore 64, I think, where I edited, and also a Yamaha, an FB01.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it didn't make it better. Andy, what was your first editor?
I was playing with samplers and stuff on the computer for a long time. I was kind of late to the actual hardware synth and editing game, but I think the first one I used on the Mac was Dr. T's XOR to edit Kawaii K12 stuff.
Yeah, Dr. T, I remember them. KCS
It was
and
a
all,
great-
all
it was
the
a great
stuff they
program.
did.
I also worked on my Casio. My one I later got was a Casio VZ10M rack, which is their later IPD synth based on the CZ1 old day kind of stuff. The kind of DX7 sounding synth. But yeah, Dr. T's great. I don't know. I used a few after that, but that was like the main one for quite a while.
Yeah. I quickly moved away from the Commodore 64 to make music on the what's it called? Steinberg C12. The
Right, C12, C24.
Yeah, yes. It wasn't tight enough, so I turned over to the Amiga, where I tried KCS and other DAWs, but I fell for Music X, and Music X had an editor too for hardware synths. It was not only a DAW, but I never really got it to work with the synths I had. So it was later on MIDI-Quest. Do any of you remember MIDI-Quest?
They're still there. They're still around.
Yeah, they are.
They're actually the last man standing, I think, on Mac and Windows anyway.
Yeah,
It's on the iPad, so
show it again.
it's not up yet. But I have a bunch I can show later. But it's
Okay.
MIDI-Quest also on the iPad. So
Okay, great.
I can't remember what I had first because I know I had an editor for the DX7 at some point, but I also know that I had an editor that allowed me to edit samples for the Ensoniq Mirage.
I had that too.
oh, they had their
That's
own
right.
proprietary one, right? Isn't that the one that it was like a DOS-based one?
Well, they had, it was. I know they had Mesos, which was their advanced sampling system, and you had to have it. It only worked with Mesos samples,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's going back a few years.
There were a
Yeah.
couple Windows apps that could actually edit samples in their native format for Kurzweil and for Ensoniq and some other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but Mirage is all the way at the beginning there.
Yeah, we had to edit in hex on the box itself. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I have to get. I forgot my sugar replacement for my tea. So keep up the show.
Chat amongst yourselves. Scott, I approve of your the synth on the top in the front.
On the top in the front. What, the System 8?
No, sorry.
Oh, the wave
right
state.
on the wall. Yeah.
On the wave state and the op 6. You know, I've been really on the fence because this is one of the original wave states, and it's the Mark 1, and I got it as soon as it came out. And one of the things that I really complained about was the key bed. I'm like, if you ever made a full size like a key bed with aftertouch, I will buy it tomorrow. And then you did. And I still haven't bought it. And I keep thinking, well, I've got like other key beds, and I've got wave state native, and do I really need, or if I do that, where's the op 6 gonna fit? But I'm still on the fence there because I do love, and plus I love the wave state because it's a great laptop synth. I can take it upstairs and you can just play with it and score whatever's on TV. It's a great box for that.
Yeah.
I'm still tempted to get a wave state. I have a wave station AD and a wave station SR from the old days. I love those. Those are great.
And speaking of the hardware editors, the wave state editor I wish had come out when the original Synth did, because I spent a lot of time learning the UI and learning the engine and the UI. And you have to make the wave state to a price. You can't have 400 buttons on it. So there's shift functions and there's different modes and so on. But having all the stuff on the screen like this made it, if I'd had that to begin with, it would have been a lot easier to get the concepts of the wave state and how it actually functioned, the engine function and so on. When I work with the wave state, I work entirely with this editor now rather than the UI on the synth itself.
Did someone make a template for it? Anything else like MIDI Designer or one of those other apps?
You mean for the wave state?
Yeah.
No, I mean, first off, our experience is that with actual complex synths, no one actually wants to make an editor for it.
Right.
And nothing against synths with dedicated mod routings and everything, and but this synth is the level of complexity is extremely high, and so to actually make an adequate editor for it is something that with the Kronos, for instance, we had Michael Lambie of MIDIQuest make that editor in MIDIQuest, but it was like a year-long project for him. It was a significant period of full-time work for an expert in the field, and so the wave state actually doesn't use sysx. None of these things do. It's
right.
just a networking protocol that talks directly to the synth. So yeah, there aren't other editors for them.
And then like the Montage M, where they actually duplicated the entire engine, the entire synthesizer in their ESP module. So you can use that on screen as a VST, but it doesn't even need the synthesizer. It is a full copy of the Montage internals. It emulates all the DSP and everything in your PC, but you can also use it to do the editing there and transfer back and forth to the synth. I tried to get all my different editors for hardware up on one screen, but I couldn't do the Montage because it only runs in a container, and if I try to open Cubase, it dies because I've got all these other ones. They're all competing for MIDI ports and not winning.
And there's one third-party company that made amazing editors for stuff, and they often partnered with the companies who made the synths. In case of the Dave Smith Polyvolver and Evolver, you have Sound Tower for iPad. These are amazing. The Sound Tower stuff is kick-ass.
Well, of course, Sound Tower is based on MIDIQuest, UniQuest.
Sure, yeah, it has the same kind of look and feel anyway. I didn't know their lineage, but that makes sense. But they have this. They have one for the Mofo, for the Tetra, for a bunch of stuff, and you can. They're fairly deep synths as far as like modulation and all kinds of crazy stuff with graphs and all that. So I didn't show many pages on there, but you can dive in and with the touch interface just quickly tweak stuff. Have it right by your keyboard and not have to mess with a computer all the time with a mouse and keyboard and all that crap. It's kind of nice to have really good iPad apps. Behringer's DeepMind 12 editor is really nice as well for the iPad. So it's nice that companies will make these editors. You don't always have to use MIDIQuest or these other kind of like third-party things that are kind of clunky at times.
They have a controller. It's CTRL or CT.
Oh, controller's good.
Controller. Yeah. And so it's a framework that you can design hardware and hardware interfaces for, and it will just connect different sliders on here to send different CCs. This one's for Juno 106. I don't know why you would need a PC editor for a Juno 106 because it's not for function. It's just as easy. It's easier to do it on the panel. But somebody did one for the Peak Summit, which again is almost not per function on there. I guess you can see things like wave tables and things. That makes it a little easier, and you can on this one you can actually do some modulation and record modulation in these pads, which you can't do on the synth.
And the modulation matrix is easier.
Yes. And there's a Kiwi 106, because my Juno 106 is actually, I converted Kiwi 106, and somebody made a controller version of editor for that as well, which I don't think I have up here. But then the modal one, I really like their modal app, which works with any modal synth.
Oh, yeah.
And it works kind of like WaveState does, where it's talking over USB rather than MIDI. So it's real time as you edit things on. You can see right there. If I flick it, it's actually changing it on the screen in real time, and it's very quick. So much like the WaveState editor, and the modal app works on iPad as well. That I think is, again, for like the Cobalt 8 and the Argon 8 and all the different modal synths where they have lots of stuff and lots of shift functions.
Right.
I like having it broken out here so you don't have to remember shift this gets you this and shift that or whatever. It's right there in front of you. And plus it gives you, if I want to choose a waveform, it shows you exactly what the waveform is instead of just trying to guess from the name of it on there.
Yeah, controllers are good. I always forget the name for some reason. 'Cause it's just stupid because it's literally just controller misspelled. But I discovered that I don't know 5, 6, maybe more like 10 years ago, and boy, they had a lot in there. That stuff. No editors ever came out for anything. So I was so happy to find stuff in there that people, made stuff for.
It made it easy to anybody that could just put some graphics on there and then connect the different controls that they put on there to send and receive different CCs. So anybody, you didn't have to be much of a programmer, could create. I remember I had some for synths that have no business having a hardware. Well, Juno 106 is one of them, and somebody took the time to do it. But I remember when I first started getting some of these synths, I'm like, oh, look at this controller. I'll use this all the time, and I've never used it.
The only thing I can think of for that Juno is that for the guys having a rack behind them in the room and they're at a DAW and they don't want to get up and twiddle it, they just sit there and twiddle the panel. That makes sense.
Exactly how I use the editors all the time. Like
Exactly,
I don't want to go over there if I'm right here working on stuff, and that's why the editors are really nice.
What I will use it for mostly, and these are particularly the ones that you can instantiate as a VST, is I'll have it on the track inside the DAW, and each of those can have its own sound or preset on it, and I can just switch from track to track, and it just updates the synth, and I can edit, work on that one sound, and then I can, burn that and print that one, the audio from that one, and then switch to a different track. It automatically changes the sound. I can print that track. You can go back, a month from today, and just pull up that sound. It puts it right back into the synth, and it's almost like a private little library. It's almost like a soft synth inside the DAW, except it's actually controlling the hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's parameter storage inside the project.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Yeah. Welcome to Floyd, Alex.
Please excuse my unrelated. Sorry about that.
Can you use headphones instead of the speakers?
Yeah.
It will make your voice sound more understandable. And welcome to Howard. You're in a black room.
Yes, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I'll look around for some settings, see if I can get it.
Yeah, in the bottom of the screen, try to press the settings icon there and go into the video fan.
Okay.
And there you can select other devices. No, camera fan is it called.
There he is.
Yeah, you're there. Good.
I see Steve mentioned that the controller GitHub page looks like it's not maintained, and I think that's true. I think it's been abandoned, and I think part of it was, I know there was a controller that was available as a VST, but it was VST2 only, and I don't think it migrated to VST3. So now that all the DAWs have kind of abandoned and deprecated support for it, it doesn't work anymore. So you can use it as a standalone, like I had it up here, but it doesn't work inside the DAW anymore.
Okay, Floyd, we have to hear both how has your week been, and then I have some questions for you afterwards.
Oh, my week has been quite stressful. There were a lot of things I had to do on my day job, and I didn't get anywhere.
We know that feeling. What was your first editor for a hardware synth?
Oh, I think that was sometimes in the early 90s on the Atari ST for the TG33 Yamaha synthesizer I once owned.
What happened? I'm adjusting your audio if something's popping up at your place.
Okay. I've heard.
Just keep speaking.
Okay. Yeah, it was the. I don't know if that came through. I once owned an Atari ST and a Yamaha TG33, and the first editor for that was on Cubase on the Atari. You could design your own. I think they had a system where you could place your own controllers on a grid and use that, if I remember correctly.
Can any of you remember what he's talking about?
I had an Atari ST, but I didn't have any plugins, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they within Cubase they had this possibility to create your own controllers. You could place.
Oh, we're talking about hardware. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I've worked with that too. It's years ago.
Can't remember.
No.
There's a lot of that kind of old stuff in Cubase. Like if you go into current versions of Cubase, you can find all kinds of controls and stuff that don't really make sense anymore, but they're still in there from years and years ago. And I suppose it's to maintain compatibility maybe with old projects because they are reverse. It will read older project files from older versions of Cubase, but there are a lot of MIDI control stuff in there that nobody ever uses anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
I have owned several bits of software to program my Matrix 1000, and of course, because of the bugs in the software on the Matrix 1000, it was incredibly slow. So I eventually got some kind of. I bought a chip that updates my Matrix 1000 just last year, I think. And but I haven't had time for it, as per usual.
What was your first editor, Howard?
The first editor for hardware. Must have been for the Matrix 1000, yeah.
It's okay if you can't remember the name. We can't either.
Oh, which one? No, can't remember that.
No, it's okay. Okay.
It seems to be that there's less. I mean, there are some hardware editors like the WaveState here, the one I was showing, but we've also got WaveState Native, where it's an entire copy. And I have Monopoly Native and Op6 Native. Do I have that one? I think I do. I'm pretty sure I do because I have the Op6. Op6 Native. I have all three. So it is an actual copy of the synth that you can run with inside a DAW, just like the Montage one. And then the System 8, this one here, has the same thing, the Rolling Cloud, where they have the System 8, I guess it is a VST, that it works as a synth itself, but you can also use it as an editor and send patches to and from the hardware. And it seems to be more and more companies are doing exactly that, where they're creating a full soft version of their synth and then making it also the editor for actually Arturia with the Mini Freak, the same thing, where you actually use it as a VST. It is a full synth all by itself in software, but you can use that as an editor and send it to and from the hardware.
Yeah, I'd point to a couple.
Yeah,
of things.
the Hartman Neuron had that as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
The Hartman Neuron. Yeah.
I think the companies are finding out that that doing parallel versions, like the 2S Mini Freak, the V version, and Dan's editors for or native versions of their synths. And Dan, is that a big business to have the native versions?
I can't really comment on business stuff, but yes, it's a business.
They wouldn't do it if it didn't make money.
And yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that there are several things that contribute there, right? So the Neuron is an interesting example because that was based on an Intel processor, and so of course it was relatively simple to have it running natively as well. I mean, I can't speak to their actual development process, but if you have the code that's running on the Intel that's in your embedded system, then it's not it. Then you can take that code and run it under Windows, for instance, or on a Mac, back when Macs used Intel chips. So with anything that is running in software that's compiled for something as opposed to being written in machine code, which hopefully is most stuff now. Again, it's relatively easy. It's but I won't say trivial. It's possible.
There's not a job for AI.
Well, perhaps so.
Right.
But the other thing is that Scott, you were talking about having an editor running in your DAW, right? So you can maintain state for the instrument and having live communication back and forth. And of course, Access did that, right, with the Virus TI.
Right.
That was kind of their big thing. But I never owned one of those instruments, but my impression was that that was a fraught and very difficult thing for them to establish and maintain.
It was also buggy as well.
Yeah,
the plugin was not great.
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
It was very problematic.
I can confirm that, yeah, because I'm kind of involved.
And so I think that the thing is that having a plugin is a better solution, really. Having a plugin that just runs in the DAW, because that is something that's there are established methods for that. You don't have to do anything fancy or strange to have the plugin version running. So if you can do that, I think that's a much more reliable way of maintaining state within a DAW.
When there's MIDI port contentions, you don't have people calling support. Why isn't this working? Because it's self-contained.
Yeah.
The Hydrasynth, I know for a fact, is running machine code on bare metal. But it's interesting that we now have processors that are now capable of running multiple instances of these instruments effortlessly. So, I mean, I say that actually, and just by absolute total coincidence, this is not planned at all. I had a video that came out today where I test the Montage ESP plugin because I had several people say, I can't run this. It glitches and runs out of processor, and if I run more than 3 elements, it fails. So I thought, well, wonder how, maybe it's their computer. So I don't have a super powerful computer. It's a pretty decent 16-core Ryzen, but it's not super powerful. And I did a test in that video on my channel today where I had, I want to say, was it 54? I forget how many instances of ESP I was running, but I had a total of 4,500 voices playing at once before it died. So it clearly, there is surplus capacity in the processors of today's PCs compared to what's running even on the DSP and inside the hardware.
Yeah, I think people often dramatically overestimated the amount of processing power in DSPs. So, and you were talking about the Hydrasynth running bare metal.
So I'm told anyway.
Well, but I mean, the thing is that we've had optimizing compilers even for DSPs for decades now. And with the Oasis, for instance, we were still in the mode of writing machine code, and so a lot of the Oasis was hard coded for for the Intel's vector processors, the thing is that when we got to the Chronos, we were like, well, what can compilers do now? And the problem is that you have these. I mean, you're talking about having AI doing things. Modern processors are so complicated and can things like out of order instruction running, for instance, that our experience was that even we had very experienced, very good DSP coders, but we got more efficiency with compilers. So it depends on your system. It depends on the compiler that you're using, but in general,
the Oasis was a Linux front end, right?
The Oasis was Linux kernel module actually.
Okay.
So it was kind of and we did that at the time so we could kind of ensure hard real-time performance.
Is that the same with the M3? Is that also similar?
No,
thing?
M3 is completely different. M3 is ASIC. M3 is using the ASIC platform, kind of descended from the Triton.
Interesting.
It's actually the next generation.
It feels like an Oasis at times, so.
The montage is Linux as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, you do need that abstraction layer because the compilers know. If a compiler is written to compile against this chipset, it's going to know the optimizations that are going to be required in order to make it work well on that chipset. But I know where you were going, and I don't want to get too complex in developer speak, but you can have a DSP, and the DSP is dedicated to the task at hand. Whereas you put an emulation of that code abstracted onto a layer on top of an OS, which is on top of a abstraction layer for the compiler, and maybe even a bytecode or whatever you have in there in the multiple layers. And you also have preemptive multitasking happening. So you have all kinds of stuff happening that could interrupt and disturb what is a mission critical task, which is producing sound. And if it gets interrupted and glitches, that's a failure.
Well, that's what buffers are for, though.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's the illusion of real time.
And thankfully, because that code is so well made, years later you can run them on VMs and they run flawlessly. So you don't even need any of the original hardware or the original even old computer hardware that it ran on. You can run it as some kind of I can run a VM of a Windows on a Mac, and it's doing all that extra number crunching, and it still breezes by on some of these apps. They're great. It's very good stuff. Someone was mentioning the editors you don't necessarily need because the control surface is not that complicated, or it's one-to-one. But Surface Builder on the iPad, someone made a really cool a microfreak editor for it, and it gave it XY pads. So there's some extra features you can't get in the real gear, and still have the little fake knobs to twiddle and pitch bend mod wheel, all that kind of stuff. So there are other good uses for these editors other than just making it more things to tweak in the standard way. You can add extra, just like you guys did with the Korg iOS apps, like the M1 and stuff like that, where you added the joystick and the Chaos Pad section and stuff.
Yeah,
really
just like
nice.
this one for the Peak and the Summit. There's XY pads on here, and they don't exist on the synth.
It's
and
really cool.
It kind of blurs the line between an editor and an alternate controller, right?
Yeah.
So you have these touch surfaces around, and so anything that can use touch. Scott, you'll remember Lemur.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And how amazing that was, and it was a dedicated big touchscreen thing, and they're still around. I have it for iPad. I haven't used it in a while.
Well, that's the funny thing. When the Lemur controller was still kind of a thing, they made the iPad app, and it's like, who wants to buy a real Lemur now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper than the iPad.
It's interesting that the iPad itself, the processor inside the iPad, is so capable that, especially at low-level stuff, that there are so many of these instruments available for it now. And I have a good friend of mine who has been he actually should be on this show. He's been doing it as long as all of we have. And he went from having a room full of synths like this. In fact, some of his that he got rid of are now sitting over here in my studio. But he now works entirely either on iPad or in the box, and mostly on the iPad, and including live work. He just has he uses an old Yamaha synth as a controller, and he's just running everything on iPad for live work.
Another cool thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say another cool thing about editors that bring some extra goodies to the table is, look at that. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Totally looks like that Pink Floyd thing.
That's for Zebra too. Yeah.
That's cool. the editors can bring cool things like patch genetics to the table. So like again, Sound Tower, I love Sound Tower stuff because even on a Korg 01W, you could take really boring patches and run through patch genetics and make a whole slew of patches with a click of a button. Audition them very quickly, find like maybe 3 out of 100 something that were good, and just keep iterating that based on the ones you liked or didn't like. And you could quickly make the massive collection of patches without a whole lot of work. And,
Yeah,
you know.
but without a whole lot of interest.
Well, that's the thing. You that's why I had genetics. They have the checkboxes for various parameters you can gene splice or not. And,
If I'd like to try that out, what does it work on?
Sound Tower, so they have Korg
Sound
01W, Polyvolver, Tetra Mofo, a bunch of any of the Sound Tower apps do patch genetics. But
I'll
the
look up
oldest
Sound
one is
Tower,
the
yeah.
Korg 01W, which is really cool for a Rompler to have that ability. But along with patch genetics, DeepMind 12 Editor had this patch blender thing, which is cool. So you can load up to 4 patches and use a little.
As a sound designer, my knee-jerk reaction is no way, but I'm going to try it. Yeah.
Well,
that it's kind of like how the montage works for its what do they call it? They got a feature in there where you can tell it.
Yeah.
I've got here's 4 different patches or 3 different patches, and figure out something that melds the 3 of them together, and you can just change the different parameters, and once you get something that sounds good, you can save that as a new patch.
Again, I think if you send AI a short wave file, it could do something with it. In the next 10 years, I don't think there's going to be much sound design work for freelancers.
The DeepMind app you were showing there is kind of like the wave state, where you have your vector joystick and you could set up the 4 layers and then move and blend between the 4 layers.
I showed something else a while ago, which is I found a programmer, a new programmer for that.
Oh, nice.
I can't remember what it's called because I don't use PC anymore.
You need the
Mac only. Yeah.
You need the editor for that to pretty much do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think Andy was about to say something.
No, I was looking at some other stuff to show.
I'm joking.
Oh, sorry. I'm inundated with cool editors. I'm trying to remember the names of all of them. It's just I haven't used them in a while, and they're just really, really powerful.
Yeah, my brain has been full of Zebra 3, so everything else has disappeared practically.
I've got a whole folder full of them here, and some of them I don't even remember what they do, so I'm afraid to open them.
Yeah, it's nuts.
One thing that's possible today is you can, if you're a web programmer, you can just design your own synth editor yourself relatively quickly. I don't know if you did see that one that was released by Kier Darby last week or 2 weeks ago for the montage. That was quite impressive visually and in functionality. I did a couple of these for Yamaha's XG standard a while ago. It's not too hard to do that.
There was an editor for the JD800, and it was a web. When you just said that, it reminded me, and I've tried a few different ones like that with that work off just a web and then web MIDI. But I found one for the JD800 that actually does talk to my JD800, and it works quite well and lets you save patches and transfer patches in and out.
That sounds cool. Actually, if you could remember what it's called, I'd like to know because I have a JD800 and it would be nice to use an editor for that thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I used to have
mine still has a red glue problem, so I can't use it right now. But
what do you guys think about like the Omnisphere stuff where they were, I don't know if they're still doing it, but where they would kind of pre-programmed certain elements of known synths, and then if you connected like a Moog or a Nord, you kind of had hands-on control but of Omnisphere through your synth. You guys think about all that stuff?
Like parameter mapping?
Yeah. It's pre-done by the guys.
Oh, okay.
Basically, if your synth has knobs for envelopes or filters or that sort of thing, you'd hook it up, let Omnisphere know what synth you had connected, and then it would and if the synth was sending CCs or NRPNs perhaps or SysX, I'm not sure what level of things they supported, but the basic idea was you've got this control surface in front of you. It's already labeled with things like cutoff and resonance and envelope amount and that sort of thing, and just map it onto Omnisphere. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, Cubase, the newest version of Cubase, has that type of mapping that you can do at the controller level, and so then it's agnostic from the soft synth that it's running. So if the soft synth is going to accept a CC that is for cutoff, and you've already mapped, your mod wheel to cutoff, then your mod wheel will actually modulate the cutoff in the VST, just because that layer in Cubase says, okay, I'm talking to this controller, therefore this is going to be mapped to that for everything.
I have used Omnisphere for years, and I bought the Korg Minilog XD just to control Omnisphere. And one thing that it was both great, but also a little bit annoying, because it was like playing a Roland synth where you had emulations, and those emulations are always limits of what the main thing can do. Limitations. So when I used the XD to edit Omnisphere, I only had the controls from the XD, so it became nearly XD sounds.
It has to be complete, otherwise you get frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge with anything that's really complicated, So Omnisphere has many parameters and lots of layers, and if you had a knob per function controller for that, it would fill the back wall of my studio.
Yeah.
Did anyone remember
we wouldn't mind.
The Jellinghouse controller for the DX7?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that one.
The DT7 kind of replaces that, but I don't know if that's still made or not.
And then the PG200, was that right?
That was for the
3P?
That
or
was the 3P.
JX3P,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the PG300 for the Alpha Juno and the 1000 for the D50.
And PG800 was... What was that one?
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
JX8P and NK7.
8P, yeah.
Yeah, 8P was my first kind of real. I had a 3P.
Oh, I have such a box for my the 660.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I had an 8P. I got used to it, programming just on the file. What do you call it? Folian tester. Can't think of the English word.
It's membrane switches.
Yes, thank you. Membrane switches. Yeah. So after a while, you can get used to painting the house through the keyhole,
So Dan, there's the answer for the wave state issue, where you have so many functions and you have a limited number of controls that you can actually put on it to make it affordable enough to sell at a reasonable price. Is just sell it with the minimal amount of controls, and then for people who want to do sound design, sell the extra controller that has all the controls.
There you go.
Oh, this is a new idea. Yeah.
When
steal it.
When we did the WaveState SR, I actually did a product proposal for just a vector joystick, a standalone vector joystick. But and the problem is that it costs money to make the thing, and you have to distribute the thing, and something like 5 to 10% of the people will buy it. So
yeah, what's the
Well,
market?
look at the boutique
Diminishing
Roland
returns.
D50 where they had a little tiny joystick on it. So it is possible to put a little joystick on there.
That's true. Well, we did that on the AD. There's very, very little room on the SR.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a challenge.
I've got this, what is it called? The Studio Logic SL master keyboard, and it's got tiny joysticks on them. And once you get used to the technique of putting your finger on the top of the little joystick, like that,
Rather than trying to grab
like
it.
on a neuron,
Yeah.
and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, the Neuron had that divot, the finger divot.
The what? Which?
The finger divot. It was really meant to hold on to your finger on the Neuron.
Yeah.
Neuron, yes, yeah, I love those.
And that
But
plastic
they
breaks
always,
very easily, so you have to.
they're
3D
lovely
print them,
orange clear plastic,
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
get stolen immediately.
They break too easily.
Yeah, and that, yeah.
But Behringer has decided to use those little game joysticks for some other cheaper
no.
things. Those horrible game joysticks. Oh man,
I bet they're durable.
Yeah, true.
they are, but it's just, I don't know. They don't feel good. They're kind of cheesy. But I know they're keeping the cost down. That's the whole point of those Behringer units, keep the cost down. So
Who owns any Behringers?
I got a few.
got a few.
I think. 1, 2. Yeah, I got 3.
Who doesn't own any Behringers? Well done, that man. I own 2, unfortunately. I've got the
Yeah, we're all the assholes having to.
yeah. I've got the Selena and the CR78 clone.
If he ever makes anything original and compelling, I might buy it.
Yeah,
Well, the
original. They have a
Well,
few.
it's pretty good, actually. It's not the best made thing in the world, but it's sonically pretty cool.
Which
Sorry,
one?
which one?
Which one?
DeepMind 12.
But that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's a Juno 106.
Something about the sound I didn't
not in
like.
sound. It doesn't sound anything like a Juno.
I didn't
has-
like the sound of the DeepMind.
The
And it has
DeepMind,
really good effect in it by Clock Technic and
yeah, it's
So it
it's a middling sounding oscillator and filter with lots of effects that really
Exactly,
make it what
yeah.
it is.
yeah, but it works.
I have their Model D clone down here in a rack version, and I have their MS1 back there, the red SH101 clone, which I got for free. I wouldn't have bought it because I have an SH101 sitting right back there already. It works. It sounds for the most part like an SH101.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
would take.
sorry,
I would not take my SH101 out live. But
Is it okay to go off topic a bit?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But I would take that MS1 and just bash it around, and if it gets broken, oh well.
And that's that's not an unreal thing. I mean, I think that was one of the things that, there was a certain period of time where, 303s and 101s, that was the real ones. That was the point of them, right? You had things that you could take out and not worry too much about. That's a good thing. It's
and their PPG Wave clone. Who wants to take out a real PPG Wave these days, right? So
the Wave,
you can't even afford it. So.
There was a band called Bourgeois Tag that was in the Bay Area for a while, and Scott's nodding his head. And
Yeah, I remember.
And they had, the keyboard player had a story about how they had gotten some deal. I don't know if it was a development deal or an actual production deal, and he had money, and so he bought a PPG, like a 2.3 or something like that, and took it out for his first concert, and someone had not kind of sealed all the cabling down, so he has this keyboard up there that he's just basically mortgaged his house for, and he says he's watching it fall over in slow motion.
Oh no!
Very sad.
Yikes.
Very sad. I mean, it's
something like that happened at a concert I played in '85 or something like that, where someone spilled a beer into our synthesizer. So we had to turn it up, or put it standing, and play it like that, so it could lose the beer. Yeah,
I'm sure the designers take that into account, because I've had enough of these, because I've done a lot of the restorations on these, and if you look at it, the way they're designed is if you dump a beer into the keyboard, it's going to go down and around the front and underneath the board, and it should, in most cases, keep working. Unless you get it right at the back, or it's going to get underneath the key contacts. But
yeah, unless it was one of the big Casio CCs. They had so many prints that something would happen under its way to the button.
I mean, I know
flute.
the 106 and the Poly 6 that I have, when I opened them up to restore them, both of them had obviously had liquid inside at some point, and they still work.
I think that's going to be a general It's just a general case, right? I mean, you have if things are mounted to the bottom at all, then you'll have standoffs.
Standoffs, yep.
So there's a little.
And the rubber contacts are typically up underneath the case itself, behind the keys. So unless you really dump it up close or get it through like the sliders themselves or the faders, then that's
yes. I was
that's
also
bad.
a bit skeptical about whether they'd used that as part of the design decisions. It's just probably good luck.
The D50 I bought was really cheap. I was like, oh, it looks like it just needs a battery replaced. The error message is the typical like replace battery type thing. So I looked it over. Everything seemed fine. Took it home and said, yeah, I've done the factory reset. I replaced the battery. I've done everything possible to make this thing go into some kind of normal mode. Finally, I took it to a local expert here, which wasn't cheap, but it wasn't too bad. Turns out that at some point, this guy had kids. So at some point, somebody had maybe let ice cream melt to the top of the air grid. And if you've seen a D50, it's a city of boards. It has many, many layers of boards. So it trickled down and kind of went and hit a couple things, but mainly messed up one of the primary boards. And luckily they had some in stock for some other thing they parted out. So in the end, my D50 was still cheaper than buying a good D50 at the time with the repair, luckily. But this is the thing you don't know. The guy either didn't know or lied or whatever. Probably wiped off the ice cream or whatever it was and goes, it still works, no problem. And it took years of that sugary stuff to etch through.
Wasn't the D50 completely digital as well?
It is, but it's also complicated.
That means you could have a software version of that easy.
Well, but it's not the same. I like the PG 1000. I like the real. Like I bought some of the boutiques because the boutiques actually included whatever control module had into the design of the boutique. So like the JX3P boutique has the PG300 built into it, right?
Right.
Which is cool. So
yeah, there's definitely a D50 on Rolling Cloud that you can
there is,
download.
Yeah. But I do like the little D05 boutique. It's kind of cool, and it adds stuff the D50 didn't have: arpeggiator, sequencer, and some other goodies. Even like an entire collection of all the cards downloaded to it. So it has a huge amount of patches in it.
For the most part, the emulations, the Roland emulations that I've tried have been very, very good. Like the ACB stuff and the System 8.
ACB is amazing, yeah.
I compare that to the Juno 106 and it's dead on. And the same, I've got the ACBs. I mean, the Zencore is like in the Phantom. I have a Phantom EX down here that has the Zencore 106 and it's pretty close. But now you can put ACB in the Phantom and it is the same code as this pretty much. But the JD800 in the Phantom just doesn't have the punch that my actual real JD800 is. I don't know what the difference is, but that's the only one that is not quite as good.
And the JXAP isn't the full analog emulation as well. It's the ABM, which is the Zencore.
Right.
And it's not as good either, but it's still fun to use. I like it, but it's never going to be a real JXAP.
Which technology is the most recent of those two?
ABM, Zencore.
ABM, yeah.
And do you think that they switched to that because of processing power?
Totally.
Yes.
ACB stuff.
ACB is far more processor intensive.
What was it? Trying to think of the one that was cut down. The Jupiter 8 that they made for the
the boutique. Yeah.
It could only do 4.
It's a 4 voice. Yeah.
Because it didn't have enough processing power, and they didn't want to put an extra processor in there. So if they had made it later, when they had the Zencore ABM stuff available, they would have crippled it and made it not sound as good.
I don't know what's inside the boutiques. I know in the System 8, it's got, I think, 3 BMC chips, which is the Roland building block DSP. And I think the Phantom also has 3 or 4. I have a Phantom 06, which is my live one over here, and I think it's only got 2. And that is the reason why it does not run AZB on the Phantom O series. It just doesn't have the power.
And even though they do have it in the System 8, which I like, the keyboard sucks, but the unit is cool. They only have slots for 3 extra things along with the native thing. How about it's all virtual, right? Give me like 10 buttons or at least 6 buttons or something.
And 64 patches per per
know.
slot.
It's-
I mean,
it's
come
annoying.
on. Yeah, there were some boneheaded design decisions on the System 8 for sure, especially with the MIDI implementation as well. But I honestly don't use the plugins on that much. I really like the System 8 native engine.
It's
one
good,
of my
yeah.
it's one of my favorite engines.
You have a
favorite synth
cowbell
engines.
oscillator.
Yeah.
It was just on sale, wasn't it?
It just got discontinued.
Yeah. Just
Oh, the
System 8.
sorry, the System 8 plugin.
It's the Ivor line. The
No,
green
no,
stuff.
not the plugin. The actual System 8 hardware was just discontinued.
Yeah.
I didn't know
I was
that.
being
Interesting. Well, it's
Yeah,
been out for quite a while.
I got a System 1
10 years.
when it came out first, and it was the key bed on that was even worse. Well, I had some misfiring. I took it apart, and you ever do those little kid keyboards where
Yep.
the keys are one piece of plastic that
Yep.
are sliced? That's the kind of key bed that's in System
Yeah.
1.
And then System 8 and in the Modi X.
System 8's a little better, but yeah, it's the same
So-
kind of cheap stuff. Yeah,
Yep. And it's the living hinge.
yeah.
Yeah, my System 8, the keyboard on it was defective when I got it too. I took it apart and fixed it.
Yeah. But
No such
they do
problems
sound
with
good.
no such problems with the Cork stuff.
hardware. I can never guarantee hardware. All sorts of things can happen to hardware.
Yeah. Although in the old days you had those awful Pratt Reed key beds, so could be very bad.
Was Pratt Reed the one that
Like the old Mini Moogs.
originally
and,
had
just a,
the scanning? I'm trying to
Was
remember
it just a piece of wire?
Yeah, J wires. Pratt Reed
Yeah.
was always J wires.
Yeah.
I remember cleaning the contacts on my Philly recorder. Which is the
Steve
first
Elbow
organ-
says
No,
editors don't
editors.
have a red glue problem.
No, indeed not.
That's right.
Yeah.
well, that's purely a manufacturer problem. Obviously, don't use the goddamn red glue. Do some more testing.
Oh, the sticky knobs on
Yeah.
on these.
Oh yeah,
Having-
the sticky surfaces on the
Yeah.
Arturia stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
that rubberized
Yeah, that-
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the worst when that stuff starts going all spongy. I had that happen actually to my Moog Little Fatty. The ends have that rubber stuff on there.
Yeah.
And it started going on this. I live in Florida, so it gets humid here. So I had to replace the end caps with some wood ones.
Looks
Because-
better.
I do think it looks better too, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know why they put
And
that
it
rubber-
sounds warmer. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is
sound better. Yeah.
I
That's
did
fun.
do the red glue on my JD800, and that was one hell of a job.
Yeah, mine's coming up. Mine's overdue. I got to do it. So it's
I wonder if we could have a software emulation of the red glue for authenticity.
Yeah, the keys stick down and don't come back up when you
Yeah.
press them.
I
Yeah.
think Roland
random.
wants to avoid all that. Even though it's funny, they don't want to relive all the drama. So
Aren't they the ones that put in the fake warm up stuff in their XM and was it the X8 and the XM?
I know the Fairlight app has that for the iPad.
It has
It
like
has
a fake like
glitch modes where you can make it freak out on load and stuff. It makes the sounds, and yeah, it's pretty funny. But that guy has a sense of humor. I don't think Roland has a sense of humor. So.
They do have in the ACB models, they do have things you can change so that it emulates capacitors aging and that sort of thing. And you can the Juno 106 chorus, you can make it so the Bucket Brigade chips are getting old and noisy, and so you can adjust that. And if you don't want noise on your Juno 106 chorus, you can get rid of it entirely. So that's kind of nice.
That's cool. I like that. It's like the vintage knob on some synths, right? They turn
Right,
the
yeah.
vintage knob up.
yeah, like on the sequential stuff, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was
I-
Dave Smith who started that with his slop. He called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know-
That word didn't catch on.
The last Hydrasynth update allowed you to edit individual voices, so you could pitch individual voices as if the oscillators were going out of tune.
Oh wow.
Well, and if you guys play with the multi-poly or also the ARP 2600 plugin, you'll find pretty detailed control over that sort of thing. So,
Oh, that's yeah.
and it's it's based on so for instance, if the system used 5% resistors in a path, then that adds a 50% or 5% deviation. We have like for each of the voices has a large number of random numbers based within those tolerances, and you can kind of dial that up or dial that down and control it separately for pitch modulation versus envelopes and that sort of thing. It's pretty effective. If you listen to the Tom Sawyer sound in multi-poly, the only reason that works is because of the fact that the filters are slightly detuned and the envelopes have slightly different times.
In our company, we tend to develop stuff with everything clean and then add the offsets and the slop afterwards and make it user definable. So we have these modulation mappers with 128 values that can set up offsets per key. This is, it's for the people who really get deep into sound design and don't want instant gratitude.
Well, I think actually you get instant gratification to a certain extent from these things. So you have.
I do.
Yeah,
well, I love it.
But the thing is that you get this. My experience is that when our engineers have gone in and because I'm not a software engineer, right? But when our engineers have gone in and figured out what all of these tolerances really are and said, well, here's what happens with the envelopes when you've got 10% resistors or 5% resistors or the way the capacitors work here or whatever, you can there's something just really natural and satisfying that comes from just kind of having the stuff on. And you notice it a lot with pitch, for instance. So we have pitch, and the pitch actually drifts. So the control he has Scott, I think, has multi-poly native up there.
Yeah, I've got it showing there.
And and as Howard's saying, I think Uwe does a great job of stuff here too. But the basic idea is that you have the oscillators, and the oscillators on your analog polysynth, no matter how hard you tried, they were still going to be out some. And so you didn't need to worry quite so much about having, I'm going to have just a little bit of a 1 cent offset in one of the oscillators to get some thickness. You just got the thickness out of it. It just happened. And there was a certain aliveness to it because it's allocating the different voices, and each of the voices has its own little offsets in terms of the filter cutoff or the envelope timing or the LFO timing or the pitch, right? Exactly, all of these things. And so you just play it and it just sounds alive without you having to do anything to it. And I think it's important to be able to to dial them all back. So we've got in this case, right, we've got the 6 individual knobs for the individual characteristics or the scale all, and you can just, if it's bothering you or if it's causing a problem, you can just turn it off. But in general, I like to leave them on because I think stuff sounds more interesting that way.
It sounds less I want to say crystal clear or less artificial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, for bell sounds and things like that, you will want to, or
exactly,
yeah,
organs, you probably want them to be absolutely straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you
otherwise, I agree. I love that thick sound you get from offsets per voice,
right?
Per oscillator. Yeah.
But if you're trying to do something really specific, sorry, go on.
No, good. Yeah, to finish.
No, you're exactly right though, because if you're trying to do something with cross modulation, for instance, and the pitch relationships are very critical, which they can be with bell sounds, you don't want them messing up. If you're trying to do something with tuned resonance, for instance, white noise going through a self-resonant filter, and you're modulating that to get your pitch, then again, you don't want the filter varying at all. So it's very handy to have that
FM as well.
At your fingertips, but so it's I was just having a conversation with one of our really great sound designers about this, and he was recounting having to do multiple takes of something. He was doing some sort of bass sound with an OB8, I think, or an OBX, and in the studio, and the oscillators were drifting, and so this bass sound would go in and out of being really solid, and they would have to go back and do a new take on this verse or whatever to dub in the these a couple notes, so they would be solid. And he was saying, like, I don't miss that at all. and so, and I know that with photography, you had the same issue, right? It was hard to have things in focus, and it was hard to have low noise, and now we have all sorts of digital tools for adding depth of field, right? Now that it's we have these tiny little lenses and everything is in focus. People are wanting the blur. People are wanting grain, because to a certain extent, these things, as you're saying, Scott, make it seem more real somehow, less fake. I think it's a very interesting phenomenon, and it's a pendulum swinging. But
you're talking about the pitch stuff, the old poly synths, the analog poly synths. Kent Spong's always talking about, like, some have this little tune button, and you wait for the red light to come on and go, oh, it's got to be tuned now. No, it's just like a Fisher Price thing. Like, it's this, yeah, it tried to tune it, it told you it tuned it, but it's still woefully out of tune. So that's pretty funny.
Or it was tuned 5 minutes ago, but it is no longer.
It just it thinks it's tuned in its reference point, right?
I think
in the real world.
I think it's changed with the times, because if we go back to the 90s, where we had these crazy artificial sounds and trance and all this dance music, and everybody was trying to come up with the most crazy sound that no human had ever perceived before, and we've kind of moved from that to not so much of a retro sound, but a sound that is more organic and has more. You can play it with feeling, and you can actually get different motion and movement throughout those sounds, rather than just being assaulted with superhuman sounds.
Just think how clear all the digital stuff was in the 80s and 90s, where people were that's all you could get, or what people were gravitating toward. And then so many people are like, oh no, I long for the days of all the slop and all the glitches and all the weird pitches and alternate tunings and stuff. And it's kind of funny how for a while that was like everything was so clean, crystal and sterile.
Well, I wouldn't call 8-bit digital clean.
Well, I mean, cleaner than a messy polysynth. So
yeah,
that so-called warmth was long gone. So
I had this discussion a while ago in one YouTube video, perhaps another one, where someone pointed out that the so-called warmness and this simulated tape wobbling and all this stuff really never existed in music in the 80s or the 70s, because engineers were doing their best to avoid it.
Yeah.
Now,
we were trying to get rid of tape hiss and wobble and all that stuff. We had I started out with a 4-track, and you'd bounce things, and everything would descend in this hiss of background noise, and that, the thought that we could have 200 channels of pristine 24-bit digital with no noise would have blown my mind back there, and I'd be like, that's what everybody wanted, because nobody wanted the tape hiss and the wow and flutter and all that stuff. And now you have that as an effect in your synthesizer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like when I was doing a lot of field recordings in the 90s with some decent equipment, and I got a sampler finally, and I started building artificial soundscapes of natural areas with different birds and other animals and nature sounds. Yeah, that one. Yeah,
that's one you got as well, yeah.
and you would have this bed behind every sound from its natural, like either water running by, wind in the trees. There's some kind of whitish or pinkish noise or something altering every single sound you try to load in the sampler, and you had to basically load a bed of noise in order to bring things in and out and not sound terrible, Mm-hmm. So you had to purposely introduce some noise into your whole track just to make all those little background noise things actually gel. And it did work eventually, but man, what a pain in the ass that was.
And that's a perfect example of sampling back then. Is we had 8-bit samplers, and quantized noise was a way of life, and everything sounded gritty and awful, and we wanted it to sound like an orchestra. We wanted it to sound like a piano, and we did the best we could. And now we have these Romplers that sound like, well, which grand piano? Was it the one in the Carnegie Mellon Hall? It's like, so you have so many options, and we have filters and things that make it sound like a crappy 8-bit sampler back in the day.
Although you did mention the Mirage earlier, and I loaded a piano bank a couple months ago in my Mirage, and god damn does that sound good.
You know what? I was always amazed at how good that. And it wasn't even a multi. Was it multi?
Yeah.
No, it didn't have multi-sampling.
No, it was just
It had multi-sampling. You could
not
In
the
the
thing
piano,
I was
not the
using, though.
piano one,
Yeah.
because it had
Yeah.
it.
Ton of memory.
Yeah, it
Oh, okay.
had splits
just
across the key
technical.
bed. Yeah, but it was
right.
using
That's,
envelopes.
Sorry, that's what I think of as. Oh, okay. It's using
Sorry.
envelopes on the different splits, but the same sample data.
Yeah, it didn't have multi-sample like these do, where if you press it softly, you get a different sample than if you hit it hard. It had the
sorry.
same sound. It was just using envelopes and things to adjust your velocity. But they had each sample across like 5 or 6 keys.
Yeah.
And then
and that's what I think of as multi-sampling is having
right.
having multiple samples spread out.
And of course, they'd loop the tail.
Velocity layers. Oh yeah.
They didn't have the memory to have a big long tail, so you'd have to loop it, and you'd have to find your loop points that didn't. So,
Like I had like a full
I
8
used to-
meg piano library in my Emax 2, and it was like the best sample I could get at the time from Emu, and it's not much data at all. It's 8 megs, right? But the one patch took up the whole damn memory of the unit, and it still sounded like because the multi samples were so spread out, and it just didn't quite work. So
Yeah, I had a couple of ASR 10s. It was a whole load of fun working on those. But I suppose even in the Mirage and Sonic, they got the workflow right, yeah? Or do
not the
know
workflow, but the sound was good. The sound was very good. Yeah.
not the workflow? Okay.
the workflow
No,
was
you had to add
pretty-
in hexadecimal.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I remember hexadecimal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I used to add a little single board computer with hex pad. So I'd look up in the assembler handbook, what's this? What's the word? Befehl. Command. What's this command? And tap it in, and save the whole program to cassette tape. Whole load of fun.
Yeah. Good old days.
I know the Mirage had an analog filter in it. Oh, hello.
Gotta have a cat interval. That's always good.
Cats on synthesizers.
The Mirage had its analog filter, and everybody talks about that now. It's like, oh, I had this great analog filter, and it was digital synth, but they warmed it up with an analog filter, and I'm thinking, I don't think they had the processing capacity to model filters back then. Analog was it.
Yeah.
That was your choice.
What year are you talking about again?
The Mirage.
Mirage, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ESQ1, same thing. That's why it was called the poor man's PPG wave, because it is digital synth into an analog filter. It sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, that
the
was
Waldorf Q as well. What Q plus? I mean, yeah.
Good stuff. Oh, there's Kitty. You have one cat? I forgot. How many cats do you have?
I have 3 cats.
3 cats. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the Quantum. I've got the Quantum as well. That's got analog filters.
Yeah, and digital.
Yeah, and digital copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way the Hydrasynth, they were able to use machine learning to actually make new filters based on original designs.
I
and they
didn't
turned out
know
really
that.
well. Yeah, they turned
Yeah,
out
they did.
really well. That's excellent.
I'm going to have to ask Ken about that. Interesting. Ken Flux Pierce.
That's why Ken actually had
Same.
input on that.
And would know.
He was invited, but he was not available today.
There's a modular filter called a Threeler.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ken liked it so much he said, "You got to put this in the Hydrasynth," and it's in there.
Yeah, it's in there now. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. No time.
Yeah.
That's the biggest restriction. It seems these
Well,
days
time
is-
and money, right?
Yeah.
So, I haven't bought anything new for a while, just no money.
The one that has been on my list for a while, and I was out at Sweetwater in the springtime. I got to play it a bit, and that only reinforced that I wanted one. Was the Osmos, the Expressive E.
They're fun. I love the Osmos.
Yeah.
So do I.
Right there. It's pretty cool.
Who doesn't have an Osmos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, but I do have this little guy. But
I don't have the space, but I have a wife.
That's a touche. Yeah.
But it's not just the key bed. Yes, the key bed is incredibly expressive, but that Haken engine is just.
Haken is just cool, but editing is not that.
Oh no,
fun.
I would not want to be doing sound design on that.
Oh, I love it.
I mean,
It reminds me of the EMS stuff back in the day, but with a knob per pin kind of thing.
It's pretty out there, but man, some of the textures on there are really cool.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you can, like a Rolly Seaboard, just keep your hands on the keys and do all kinds of crazy stuff and never have to go touch any knobs or anything.
Yes.
And it seems to come very naturally. Like I didn't really have to think about it once I started doing it. It just once in a while I'd be like, "Oh, that's terrible," and I realize, "Oh, this finger's pushing a little sideways."
But on the other hand, there are some techniques where you don't think about it if you start on the piano or organ, is how to slowly lift one finger against another.
Yeah, that's when you dial that in. That's amazing.
Once you start learning
flutes and
that, it
stuff,
gets really interesting. Yeah.
I feel like
very
it's
authentic.
it's a way better control surface for that type of expressive playing versus even like the rollies and stuff like that, because you've got a more traditional style keyboard there, and it's more intuitive, at least for me anyway. It's been
However, the Rolly, you can just go. It's like a giant XY pad as well, so you can just go crazy.
Yeah,
it around.
guys like what's his name, Marco Parisi.
That guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And because you have a up and down XY ribbon that can go alternate directions at the same time, you can just go nuts on that thing.
I know that the Hydrasynth has release. Actually, the Hydrasynth Deluxe has release velocity on it that you can map as a source. But
it's a glitch,
I've never actually played with it.
Yeah, I've got a deluxe, and I kept telling Ken to revisit that. Oh no, it was aftertouch release time. You know when you've got a vibrato on a sound and it's a slow path, you don't got vibrato on aftertouch, and then you switch to another chord. The released chord is going to suddenly lose all its vibrato. You don't want that.
Sadly, the Hydrasynth 49, when it came out, that the release velocity will never be in there. It's a design thing.
It's physical in the keyboard.
Sorry, I misunderstood. You're talking about release velocity.
Because I'm used to that on the Rolly Seaboard a lot. It's really a cool effect, and you can't do it on the Hydrasynth. So
yeah,
I don't think it can be physical. I think that it has to be a firmware issue.
They claimed it was an impossible hurdle, no matter what they do to it.
Unfeasible is something I can't address. But if you have, if you can do velocity, you can do release velocity.
Absolutely.
It's not, but I think it has to be something to do with the actual sensor, the pressure sensor that does the aftertouch. I'm not sure. Yeah, you're right, because the velocity is just the timing between two contacts.
Yeah.
But
it could be they couldn't get it to
I'm not saying it's easy
in that model.
In their system. It may in fact be infeasible. All sorts of things that are
maybe
possible or not feasible.
And it didn't work correctly, so they decided to say we can't do it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't had the Deluxe apart, so I don't know. I had the 49 apart, and I have some photos of the key bed in there, but I haven't had this apart to see what the differences are.
We discovered something. So we did release velocity, and again, I don't think that the native voicing does much with it at all, but all of our little keyboards support release velocity. And I think we added it. Yeah, we added on the Kronos, but it wasn't in all. Not all of the engines supported it actually, but the piano engine supported it.
Sure. Yeah.
But there are some weirdnesses there. We have to. I think it's that. I can't remember if it's the very fast ones or the very slow ones, but one side of 64 is ignored, and that's because it caused all sorts of problems with certain devices when you generated release velocities in that area. I would have to go back and look at my notes and see why.
I came in late. May I ask Scott and Dan and Floyd, which companies are you working for?
We'll go in that order.
Well, I don't. I work for a non-music company, and this is all just. I do I do videos. I do some production work for some people, and once in a while, when I have time, which is never, I will actually write something and record it. But most of the time, I'm just producing videos.
Great.
I do some testing and development and sound design.
And fly around.
I fly around.
And Dan?
I work for Korg.
Right.
So-
I thought so. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I'm the product guy for Korg R&D. So the
Very
wave
good.
stage,
I've got one of
wave,
your things there.
Oh yeah, that one's not mine, but yeah, that's my group. My group did the plugin for that, which is also quite good. You should check it out.
All right. And I'm missing one. Floyd.
Yeah, I'm just the guy who talks about synthesizers and
All
stuff.
right.
Nothing
Thank you.
special.
Thank you. I just didn't catch who you were at the beginning.
Yeah,
Marshall.
who the hell wants to talk about synths, right? So
Are you just another synth enthusiast?
I'm a synth tuber. Yes, sir.
Okay.
What's your channel, Marshall?
It's just my name, Marshal Arnold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do have a flying channel, which is why he said I flew around, because I have an airplane. And if you look up
cool.
Canard Boulevard, I have a YouTube channel for flying around, flying my airplane.
I assumed drones. Okay.
No.
Real planes. Okay.
Yeah. I was actually
Nardes and Goose, right?
that's where I was this morning before I came back here to be on this show.
You know, we have Zeppelins flying over my town every day.
Zeppelin?
Real Zeppelin.
We have some here.
Zeppelin.
Airship Ventures flies out of Moffett Field, so we have some of those here too.
I'm fairly close to Akron, and so we have the Goodyear blimp.
Ohio.
Yeah.
We are off topic, and it's
Really?
it's,
Are you sure about that?
a little bit, and it's okay because there will be another off-topic thing later in the show. It's Dan who has promised to go behind the drums.
Oh,
That
Yeah.
is a lie. I did not promise to go behind the drums.
Oh, I thought you did.
It's like that scene in Spinal Tap because we are not about to perform a freeform jazz odyssey in front of a festival crowd.
So they are just for the looks, those drums. So
You are witnessing the birth
now you're
of
gonna challenge
Spinal
me.
Tap
Yeah, Mark II,
III.
yeah.
Mark II. Yeah.
That's good.
yeah,
I just
let's.
watched Anvil the other day. Have you heard of that? Anvil.
Anvil.
Sounds
It's
familiar.
a Canadian heavy metal band, and they made a video of all their failures. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. A band called Death
Sorry?
was good too. Did you see that video? A band called Death about the
Band
heavy
called
metal
Death.
Yeah.
Mockumentary.
Yeah. No, real. I
Real.
mean, but well, take your pick, right? They have so much crazy stuff going on in their lives. It could be like a Spinal Tap. So.
Reminds me of our flag is death, right?
Anvil is like Spinal Tap, but in real.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So sorry to scupper your.
So the drummer explodes.
the
Well, it's
drummer
supposedly
doesn't
based Spinal Tap on Saxon, and then a bunch of other bands around the time that were similar, and then various events throughout history, like the drummer who chokes on someone else's vomit was supposed to be based on like Jimi Hendrix died choking on his own vomit or something like that.
Yeah, that's
And-
what
and
I
a-
heard.
And a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
You can't dust for vomit.
Can't dust for vomit. Except, yeah.
Dan, I'm curious. Were you a drummer first, or were you a keyboardist first?
I was a drummer first, actually. Yeah. So I still feel kind of most comfortable.
Do you use synth drums
Playing
at all,
drum
or
lessons.
drum controllers, or any of that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, for a long time actually. I mean, I didn't actually have a kit until I moved back down here for a long time. So I used a drum cat, which is still
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually just got that reskinned, as it were,
Nice.
with a new playing surface. So I had a drum cat, and I would play my various samplers with it. The last one was the Emu fourth
Nice. E4X?
Not the 6400, 6400
6400. Okay.
Ultra, the one with the really good timing, really
Nice.
impressive timing actually. Yeah, so I had kind of everything set up, and a hat cat, so it's a continuous controller for your hi-hat. So I had this set of samples that I had. It's like lots and lots of setup work for it.
Do you hand drums at all, or just sticks?
Well, so now I do a lot of hand drums actually.
Did you ever try ATV A-frame? I love that. It's my favorite of all time.
I have not.
The wave drum is amazing. The wave drum global, but
I've got one of
but
those.
the A-frame just blows that away. Sorry, it's just the best ever.
A-frame.
Yeah, you can't get them
didn't know
anymore.
that.
It's Kakahashi, when he broke off of Roland, started ATV with his son, and they started on drum kits, digital drum kits, and they made a frame drum that's based on like a tar and other kinds of frame drums, but it's fully digital with DSP and pressure sensors, and it's one of the coolest things ever. I love it.
Can you send us a link?
Just go to my channel, look for ATV A-frame. I got some demos on there.
Yeah, you have mentioned this actually a year or so ago.
It's cool. It's you can find some cool stuff. In fact, Ikuo, his son Ikuo Kakahashi, is still part of the company, and as though it's not doing much anymore, I don't think. They're kind of slow, but he's a great performer. He has some videos he did for Craft Music and some other music stores on YouTube, playing incredible performances on the ATV A-frame. So yeah, it's very, very clever.
Steve mentioned that he's writing an editor for the Groove Synthesis Third Wave.
Huh.
Ooh.
That's a synth I'd love to have, but won't.
It's a nice sounding synth. It's very
satisfying.
Yeah, I've played with one, but the price is out of what I think I can do.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, what do they cost?
They're up there.
Yeah,
like $5,000.
There is a place that claims to have the A-frame in stock.
It's possible. A lot of times those links are bogus, so give it a shot. But it should be about $1,500, but usually a whole lot more.
Yeah, 5,000 for the Third Wave.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking
Third
at the
Wave.
A-frame.
Yep.
Third Wave is expensive. Yeah.
Interesting. So you have one of these, the A-frame?
I love it. Yeah, it's. I have a hand drum collection, Baran and a tabla set, and Doombeg, djembe, bunch of other kinds of hand drum stuff. And I play them off and on here and there. But man, when I got that A-frame, again, I have a wave drum and a wave drum global, and the wave drum global is incredibly good. Korg did an amazing job on that. But then you try the A-frame, and you're like, oh boy, this is a whole other level. I mean, so much that Indian drummers, if you know about tabla players and stuff, the quality of the sounds. That's why they like the Rolly Seaboard so much, and some other things, that all that expression, all that sound potential. They love the A-frame. So
cool. I'm going to find out more about this.
Yeah, check it out. I've done a few looper videos with it and some other stuff with it, just to show some crazy uses of it. It's a lot of fun, but it's all DSP. You can they still have the message board up on the web page to share patches with people, but it's very, very dead. No one's really doing it anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if the site went down pretty soon. But yeah, it's one of those things. Talk to anyone who's tried one, who's a drummer or remotely a drummer. They're bummed that they can't get them. It's like, well, marketing, hello, what happened to you guys, right? Market better and people will go nuts for it. And it's sad, because just like Tenorian, I love the Tenorian by Yamaha. And again, people love those things for all kinds of sequencing duties and other kinds of weird stuff. Can't get those easily anymore either. And they came and went, and now everyone wants one. And, again, marketing. So, but, yeah, it's sad, because really cool things are.
Steve is talking about his editor, and he says The third wave has 500 preset slots, but they're full with factory presets. So there's no open user presets. And so people want a librarian, and that's what he's hoping people will buy his editor for. I was always surprised that nobody ever built a librarian for the System 8 because it's only got 64 patch storage. And I know there was a project going on where people were reverse engineering the proprietary MIDI format that Roland uses to store and send patches, but the only one that will do it is the Rolling Cloud System 8 VST. I'm surprised that nobody ever did one of those.
It's tricky though. Some stuff like that. Kent Spong's always trying to do some CS80 stuff because he's Mr. CS80. Even working on Vangelis' CS80s when he was still alive, and he has been trying to reverse engineer some of the new emulators to sound like a real CS80. Because if you're into it like some people are, even the Arturia one, which is very good, has issues with certain either patches people created or certain things out of the box that don't quite sound like what people expect from a CS80 if you're like way into that environment. So he's been trying to reverse engineer some of those patches and get a library together so you can actually do Blade Runner, CS80 lead, and some of the other pads and stuff.
That's a very good point that nobody's brought up, and that is one of the things that I use software editors for frequently. Is if I get a patch and I have something on this System 8 and I want that on my Phantom for live, how do they make that patch? Well, I can go in there and if you hit Shift and twist a knob, it'll tell you what each thing is, but it's pretty tedious to do that to figure out how each patch is designed. And that was the reason, actually, and I'm talking about that because I used this use case exactly. That's the reason I bought the Rolling Cloud version of the System 8 VST was so that I could transfer a patch from there into that, have it displayed on screen. Here's exactly how this patch works, and now I can use that to recreate it on this synth over here.
That's cool.
Being able to deconstruct synth patches just because, like the multi-poly over here, where it has every single parameter right there, or the same thing goes for the wave state. You got like everything there. You can see it, and it's laid out right in front of you as to how this patch actually functions. And it makes it a lot easier to first edit it and change things, but more to take that and recreate it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's a good point. A friend of mine, he built a synthesizer which has the encoders and knobs superimposed onto a screen. So there's a screen which shows the state of the encoders the currently loaded patch has. That's one very clever idea, and I've told him so many times you should make a spin-off of that and sell that as a MIDI controller. Hope it does.
I didn't understand what you mean. You have an external box with some knobs on it.
He has built a synthesizer which has a big panel of encoders and controls, and behind that is a screen. And the screen will change depending on what you're working on at the moment.
Oh, behind, right, got it. Yes, no, I think I've seen something similar, where you have objects that you can place onto a touch screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there are actual physical buttons.
Physical buttons.
And, it's the same. I see Scott's montage there in the background. It has the same idea.
Yeah, I was thinking
slide around and.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Hydrasynth does the same thing, where it has its macro knobs that, depending on what mode you're in, those knobs do different things. But yeah, the montage has those controls, and there's a button and a rotary encoder for each parameter, and depending on what mode is showing on that secondary LCD there, it tells you. Actually, can I show that? I think I can.
I thought we were talking about placing
can.
hardware controls onto a screen.
Yeah, so if you look at the bottom of this screen here, you can see that it has these oscillators, and this is a copy of what is on that small LCD. And if I go over and change the mode, go to category, and you can see if I change it into the ANX, then it's going to show me parameters for that ANX, or is that FM? I don't know. What? Yeah, that is an ANX sound. So all those knobs will then alter whatever each of those things says, and you can edit very easily, make changes on different parts of the sound simply by swapping whichever mode is going to align with those controls.
Yeah. On the montage, there are also the LEDs directly beneath the sliders and encoders. So when you load a patch, the LEDs will light up and show you where the knob should be or the slider should be.
Correct. Yeah, and that's a part of the montage because they are endless rotary encoders, whereas the Modiax, which is the cheaper one, just has potentiometers, and you have to. I think that you can do that one way. You can have it where you rotate it until it gets to the value and catches it, or you can actually rotate it that it immediately changes it which I wouldn't use.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the lights on the Nord Lead 3. They had those little LEDs that would show you, so you switch patches and you could see exactly how everything was up on the panel.
Yep.
I'm not a huge friend of encoders as performance controls, to be honest.
The montage has the one big knob, which is the one you can see flashing back there, which is the
like
super knob.
Matrix Brute has that for the cutoff.
Yeah. You can map that to any number of things, and you can map it to multiple things, and they call it a super knob because it's like a giant mod source. But if you want it, you can map it as a positive for this and a negative for that.
Right.
But I too don't like using that. But the expression pedal, which I'm sitting down there, is also a modify that knob, so you can set up that knob to do cutoff and maybe vibrato, or you can actually have it move from one patch to another. So if it's on the left, you're actually the default sound when you first turn it on is a piano, but if you turn that knob, it gradually fades into a pad. And so you just by using your foot, you can actually change how much of it is a piano, how much is a pad as you're playing it. But I rarely use the actual encoder knob itself.
Yeah, I remember I had a Waldorf Q and a Q Plus at some point, and the encoders had acceleration on them that couldn't switch off. So that means you don't have any muscle memory for the position of cutoff, say. Yeah, you can't do that and switch it between two states, move it between two states, because you don't have the control over the velocity. So encoders for performance, no way. Well, if they have acceleration in them.
As you sweep the knob, depending on how fast you turn it, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and the distinctions between performance and editing, right? So, Howard, I think you're talking about, performing on it, so in real time.
Yes, that's what I like about the Mini Moog and Odyssey and those simple synths from back then. Every knob was not only a setting up a sound; it was a performance control. And we kind of lost that with a lot of synths these days.
Well, that was a really interesting thing with doing the ARP 2600 plugin. So, there actually isn't a lot of programmable modulation on the 2600 when you get into it. And
a lot of FM. It's a real great FM machine.
Oh, no, there's all sorts of fantastic stuff, right? But there isn't a lot of kind of routing of LFOs or envelopes to things, because you can just reach out and move it, right? You don't need to make an assignment to modulate something on the 2600.
I like
reach out and move it. Yeah. Well, not just patching, but all the controls are there, right? It's because of the one knob per function aspect of that instrument.
Yeah, it is on a
so
basic level, but of course you want to use other modulation sources and override the whatever's standard on the
well, it's
2600.
if you look at the patch book, right? There are the patches include modulation suggestions, basically. So there'll be dots for each of the individual parameters, but then some of them will have like a an arrow that goes up down in this particular range. And again, you don't have to are not able to, but also don't have to route
Well, you don't
a
have
module
to,
to
but
something because
all
you can
the
just reach
fun
out
is
and do
it, and then breaking all the fun of programming the 2600 is breaking away from that standard architecture that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not meaning not. I'm mostly meaning the programmable modulation is lacking in certain areas, and anyway, it's just a different way of doing this. We now have these synths with so many parameters that you can't have a knob for each of them, and so it's really, really important to be able to say, okay, I have got this control, and it's going to control this parameter and this range, and that's also very groovy. But I thought the patch sheet for that was just fantastic with these kind of just zones, like this fader should be in this zone, and move it up and down, and
in the range of the
okay.
yeah. So,
and you're talking about the patch sheets in the Korg ARP 2600 manuals.
I mean the original ARP manual.
The original manual. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'll have a look.
The Jim Mitchmusen, not credited, but still around in Boston, I think. I can't remember the name of his group, but he's been doing it for a long time, and it's maybe the best manual ever written for a synthesizer, I think.
Yeah, for general synthesis, even just learning synthesis. Yeah, that's really good.
That's fantastic.
There are some hardware synths, and I don't think yours are guilty of this, Dan, but there are definitely some that I have where not just the rotary encoders, but the pots, which are not physically modifying anything other than just an AD input, there is perceptible lag between the motion of the knob and whatever that knob is controlling. And I have several of them here that bug me because I can perceive a lag between what I'm doing and what it's actually performing.
I wonder, is it smoothing? Do you notice that? Is it you turn it and it kind of ramps to the new value?
It could be. Because it the way you test for that is quickly turn it and see if you can test for a lag.
Mm-hmm. I know it's a big deal in our synths. We have you use adaptive filters, so if you move quickly, then it moves quickly. If you move slowly, then you have more smoothing, so you get more of a smooth response.
You need to filter out the hysteresis of the pots so that it's not adjusting itself when it's sitting idle, and
Yeah, encoders can be a pain. I have older gear that's having somewhat miscellaneous failing encoders, especially some famous Yamaha groove boxes and stuff that are just real, like SU 700, I think. Just terrible encoders in it. So you have to replace them all. There's no way to fix them. There's no way to lubricate them or whatever. It's
usually dust because they're usually optical. And
exactly.
There's really. They're not
just quality too. They didn't use really good stuff. So, like even Dave Smith, the Polyevolver came with encoders, and they got jumpy way too early, and not from dust, just from whatever. So he had a pot board upgrade that was actually fairly cheap considering how much better it made the synth. And I did that a while back, and boy, did that change that instrument. It's like a totally different instrument now because everything tracks beautifully. It feels different. It's nice. But sometimes you have to do that. One thing I wanted to editor I did want to talk about, but before I forgot to mention Dan. I put a link right now in the chat for an ATVA for if you want to check it out. But
Cool.
the talk about editors that came along way later. So I have a Fismo, and they're not that common. and they have some hidden features that were never available from the panel, no matter what the hell you do. And so a guy, I forgot his name, a clever guy, made this editor called FAUXMO, FAUXMO, and it's a nice little interface, and it lets you unlock all kinds of hidden features in the Fismo that were just not available from the panel. And so not only do you get some cool tweakability with the editor, but you're accessing stuff you could never truly edit. So that's another good thing about the whole editor thing. Not just
And of course, you could add some LFOs, just as CC or INRPNs or something.
Yeah.
From the controller.
But there's certain like waveforms you couldn't tweak 100%. There's certain other things you couldn't do. I forgot now what the hell it was, but it's pretty impressive, and it wasn't that expensive, and it gave, in a way, kind of a whole new life to a Fismo, which has been around for over 20 years or whatever. So
I love the Fismo just because it's a cool looking synth.
It's very 80s, even though it came out in the 90s. It's very 80s looking.
What is it? Purple and green kind of wash.
Yeah, it's got that gradient.
I hated that.
Like something in Miami Vice, right? It's like,
I didn't actually. I played a lot with the ASR 10s and didn't really catch on with trans waves. What was so
it's
special?
cool. I like them.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's worth it.
Well, Wave Station pretty much does trans waves as well. They don't call it trans waves, but
right,
wave sequencing, right? But it's cool, and I like digital as well. I'm not so like, oh, it has to be analog, has to be super warm, has to be whatever. I like the unabashed digitalness of the Fismo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Yeah.
Chris had said he was mentioning the JDXI editor, which is free, and I didn't bring that one up because I think I deleted it. I used to have a JDXI, and after I got rid of it, I think I got rid of the editor. But that is a synth that is dying for an editor because the UI on that synth is miserable.
And the official editor that came out at one point, I thought Roland had an editor for it. Maybe they didn't. This doesn't. You can't get it anymore.
Right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But because that thing it's incredibly capable little synth. I mean, it can do some amazing things, and it does sound good. Although the analog is just a gimmick on it.
It's a gimmick, but you can do some fat filtery stuff.
It has a lot of. I used to use it as a drum machine because it's got 808 and 909 samples and everything in it. That's I use for more than anything else.
The TR style sequencer is very easy to use.
Yep, but the UI and the menu diving on it was just brutal.
They give you one knob for envelope, right?
Yeah.
So you go through the different modes.
That's right.
Change your envelope, and you learn after a while. Okay, this is that kind of envelope. That's that kind of envelope. It's a little hokey at first,
but you can actually edit all of the envelope parameters separately in the editor.
Yeah.
So again, there are things you can do in the editor.
That's a good idea because what they've done is restricted the panel to performance controls.
And it's because it's kind of a beginner synth thing,
right?
You know, it makes sense, right?
Now there were you could do things like edit the individual envelope parameters, but they were 6 or 7 levels deep in a menu buried somewhere that you're never going to do it. Yeah. That's so if you're going to do any kind of sound design on that, you had to have the editor.
Yeah, and
you had to have an external keyboard because that was the worst miserable excuse for a key bed ever put on a synth.
But the cool thing about it is it's I mean, it doesn't run on batteries, but it is a portable powerhouse. You can do multi-track recording on it, you know, like entire songs just on it. So I've put a bunch of demos up of like doing covers of famous movie soundtrack bits and stuff just to push the envelope, see how far you can take it. And they with the Supernatural sound base, the analog section, a bunch of stuff, I was able to do a halfway decent job finding patches that were close enough to the originals to make passable versions of stuff. So without having to go deep in the weeds with sound design, they give you enough variety of stuff on that thing to at least get, you know, close.
I did a track, Heart of Glass, Blondie. So I had the CR78 at the very beginning. And so I used the JDXI for that because it has a CR78 sample set.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. There are guys doing demos of like Depeche Mode songs, early Depeche Mode songs, and they're spot on.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing. Just on a standalone, no computer, just using the JDXI and the sequencer, and it's very powerful. Yeah.
What other keyboards is the JDXI related to?
JDXA, the big guy.
Yeah.
JDXA.
It's like it came out after the System 8.
Okay, so it's post System 8.
It's red instead of
All
green.
red
It's
is
red.
And it's red. That's the advantage it has over the System
If
8.
you saw
yeah.
if you saw Duran
I can't
live in
stand
the
the
last
green.
10 years, he has a whole bunch of JDXAs on stage.
It's like
Duran
candle
Duran.
black.
Yeah, Nick
Good job,
Rhodes.
Dan.
Nick Rhodes,
It's
yeah.
it's the ones that has almost a glass surface.
Yeah,
It looks like
Well, yeah, they're fingerprint magnets. So that's why I got the special version of JDXI that's white with dark lettering. So you can read it in a dark room.
Yeah, because the
And
black
you
and
don't
red
have
is hard
It's
to
terrible.
see. Yeah.
It's a bad design. Some modular stuff has recently done the same thing where they put red text on black, and it's impossible to read in some situations. It's awful. And they look filthy after you use them for a while. Your greasy fingerprints get all over it, right? And it's just it's all smudge city.
Well, that's how you know it's been used, you know.
But that's so bad. Yeah.
But we're talking about like synth editors that came out after synth. The one I wanted to kind of bring up was didn't somebody make one for the TB3? And there's actually some other elements and stuff that obviously
Yeah.
TB3s.
Really, the Australian guy made a TB3 one. It was really good.
Yeah, and it's just so you got full access to that synth now with that editor, which is really cool.
That synth's actually kind of a secret weapon because it's a proper sound brain. If you just plug a MIDI controller into it and don't use it as it's normally intended, it's a massive sound brain with all kinds of cool stuff in it, not just not just acidy stuff.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of PCM waves in there and all kinds of effects built into it, and it's really elaborate.
Well, and the crazy thing is you couldn't really do anything with any of that stuff before. So, but now with that editor, you can really
It was very like chordal things you could do with some of the buttons and stuff to access modes, and it was not friendly at all. But the touch interface is really cool. I like the touch interface a lot. So. But there are a few of those. What was the one? The Ion and the Micron. The Alesis Micron had a really cool editor for it years ago. Actually, I think 2 different companies came out with them, and they were really nice. And again, they're no longer available. Hard to find, and if you could find them, they may not work in a current OS. So that's another problem with these editors is like the Behringer DeepMind 12 editor on iPad. There was a while when iOS upgrade came up and the app died and you could not work it. They had to come out with a whole new version. So editors are great, but they have, unfortunately, this lifespan because of OS versions and other.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a couple of
in general, right? It's,
VST,
Yep.
VST2 stuff like the
2 to
controller
3.
editors.
Yeah,
they've
all that
all
stuff.
died.
Yep.
I've got a couple of Microcog XL. I used to use that Cogs on editor for that quite a lot. I haven't tried it in years, so I don't know whether it works on my new Mac.
Probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Especially if you got a new Mac, the new Mac, which is now no longer Intel, right? So a lot of these editors are written with Intel.
I've got an M2 MacBook
so you have
Pro.
to use some kind of a VM and run older Mac OS on.
Or Rosetta, you mean?
Yeah, or VMware Fusion or something like that. You know.
No, it should work on
Rosetta.
Rosetta.
Is that the Boot Camp replacement, Rosetta?
No, it's just a wrapper that you can put on top.
It's a wrapper, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't use Mac, so I haven't.
But VMware Fusion is great because if you like VMware on Windows, you'll love VMware Fusion for the Mac because it's the same capabilities.
Well, the problem is
now
that
it's actually free.
Yeah, but it doesn't emulate x86 on Apple Silicon, so that's the issue.
Well, yeah, because it's not designed to. Yeah, of course. But you have other things out there that will do that.
Not really.
I'm drawing a blank now. I thought there was something that could do it. Not yet.
Nothing that does it well. I mean, so it will. You can. Rosetta, right, is what does things for actual Mac OS programs, and it does it very well. But it doesn't support virtualization, perhaps for security. And so, yeah, there just is no real. I mean, is no real solution. Is
Did
no.
they make a
professional
parallels
solution anymore.
for the new Macs or no?
They do.
Parallels-
They do, and it'll if you have Windows ARM stuff, it can and can
Yeah.
you can get a hold of Windows ARM, then we'll do that. But yeah, it's problematic. I brought this down from the wall because this is the thing that the editor is missing for that bums me out the most.
So you're going to play drums and guitar.
Oh wow!
And this is an Ernie Ball Music Man game changer reflex. And
Wow.
they were very excited about this technology. I thought it was a really neat idea, and the problem is I think it's a guitar for keyboard players, and so guitarists didn't like it. But if you look at this here, you'll see it's got USB and MIDI over here.
I've never seen that on a guitar. Holy cow!
I had a PG380 that got stolen. So the
That's
Casio
pretty cool.
PG380.
Well, and so this is control of relays essentially. So it's all analog, but it's digitally controlled analog, and you've got all these pickups on it, including one that you don't really see because there's a piezo in here. So you've got these two humbuckers, and then the single coil in the middle, and then a piezo, and they had software that allowed you to enable these things and to set them up to different serial and parallel configurations, and to flip the phase on them, and to do all sorts of fun stuff. It was really pretty awesome. And they came out first with one. There was an iOS application, and then there was also a web-based application. So you'd hook it up via MIDI and web MIDI, and it would talk through a Chrome plugin.
Yeah, I can see why guitar players wouldn't like it because it's too cool.
Where can I find information about that, Dan?
Sorry?
Where can I find information about that?
Just Music Man Game Changer. If you look for that,
Music Man
you'll
Game
find it.
Changer.
That's pretty cool.
And it's neat. It's also, I mean, it's a great sounding guitar, a great feeling guitar. I actually have, and I like a little better because it's a little bit lighter. And I'm not really a guitar player, but I've got the non-electrified or the non-electronified version of it. But the problem is that they dropped support for it because it ended up not being successful in the marketplace, and so the iOS app became incompatible with newer versions of iOS, and Chrome moved on from whatever plugin standard they were using there. So I haven't tried it recently. It's possible that I could rig something up with an older thing that might still work if I found a compatible version of Chrome. But I don't know. It's quite sad. It's a very nice guitar, and it's cool because it's all analog, right? It's basically just, if you've ever wired up a Strat, which I've done once, and figured out the pickups that you want to use, and buttons to put them in serial or parallel or flip things around. This just does it all electronically. But all in the analog domain, and it's very cool. But it was really, really dependent on these editors, which are now no longer viable.
Yeah.
Unless you jailbreak it and run an old something.
Yeah.
Well, if we talk about software editors for hardware, other than synths, is this, which because the interface in here for programming this mixer is inscrutable, so. Because it is connected
the X32
X32,
Mm-hmm.
so because it's connected to the network and this is on my Wi-Fi, I can just use this, and as you can see, it moves it's controlling and slide and moving things around, and vice versa. It works both ways, but it also allows me to do all the routing and effects, and I can store scenes and all this stuff on this without because this is not a touch screen. You have to work through buttons and knobs, and it's kind of brain damage the way they set it up. But
I've seen guys in clubs in San Francisco who are basically front of house guys walking around with an iPad doing just what
no, and that's
totally
amazing for that.
Yep.
That is a game changer.
Yep.
And it's fantastic to be able to walk around the house and use those with all. Everyone is doing that now, but I'm not sure who did it first. Behringer was those are fairly impressive, and of course, you have it with the big control surface, right? But you can also get various versions of that, which are just this rack mount box, and that interface you have in your hands is the main thing for it. So.
And you can I can actually take this and put it into a DAW mode where this actually controls as a DAW control surface, which is great for if I'm playing something way back there, I can have the iPad sitting next to me and control the DAW from that through this into Cubase.
Yeah,
Yeah, Yamaha 01V96 mixers have editors that do the same kind of thing, and with the motorized faders and everything.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that they had it on the X32.
I work with a guy who made custom software for that Yamaha mixer, and he was going to sell me his, and he goes, "Nah, I'm too nostalgic. I did work on it. I want to keep it." I'm like, "Well, don't bring it up then. I just don't. I want to buy it." So, since Dan is interested in weird guitars, do you know who Paul Vo is? The Vo wand and the
He was
Vo
involved
96.
with the Mo. Was he involved with the
Mo
Mo
guitar? Yeah, Mo guitar is basically a lighter version of his Vo 96, which you bolt onto any guitar, and it basically oscillates the strings independently of you playing it, and allows you to do.
I've seen that.
It allows you to do crazy stuff you could never do. Like Ebo is like a really primitive version of it, but it's pretty amazing. Do you have a Mo guitar?
No, this is a Lava ME.
Oh wow!
And it's acoustic, but with an actuator on the soundboard, so that it actually amplifies and adds reverb.
That's cool. But yeah, Paul Vo is way ahead of the game with that stuff. It's a whole different thing. Using acoustics, electrically driven acoustics, or even because you could use it on an acoustic guitar, you could use it on a Strat, you could use it on. It's really nuts.
But that always had some kind of Ebo kind of floaty thing to it. You could
Not
never
the way
get
he
any
did it. He did it in such a.
percussive-
The way he did it was so unique. I wish I could find those, but they're just really hard to get these days. It's just. I'm not a heavy guitar player, but I like experimenting.
I've only seen a few videos. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he's got a YouTube channel, doesn't he?
He does. I'm actually part of his Kickstarter for it's called the EM pick of the Vo Wand 2, and I keep engaging with him. Like, hey, it's been 2 years now, or almost 3 years. What's the progress? He's like, yeah, there's been some this and that. He hasn't given up. He will release it. It's just very slow going. So, but it's different than the Ebo. The Ebo is more goes over the whole neck and grabs one or two strings depending on which one you get. And this one is like a little probe that you put, and you can put anywhere on the string bed, and basically activate specific strings in funny ways. So, yeah, it's clever. Clever stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, editors will be dead one of these days because of OSs. That's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
All these great editors will be. So that's why I hope the Mac. Someone put in the chat about virtualization for certain things does work on the newer Macs, but I don't have a new Mac, so I can't test that. But as long as you have some kind of virtualization, you can make all your VSTs and all this crap work well into the future. So,
assuming you want to run them.
Thanks, Steve.
Your entire platform inside the virtual container.
Yeah, there might be some limitations, but as long as things are somewhat consistent, you should be able to keep going. Because I run really old Mac stuff on a modern Mac, like with VMac and Basilisk 2 and Sheep Shaver, and then I can run that same VM inside a Windows box, and it's amazing. So it's
That said, I've had plugins that I've used for decades that I grew to rely on, and then the company that put it out disappeared, and now there's a new version of Windows or a new version of VST, and I'm faced with not being able to use that plugin anymore. Yeah. And without fail, I've always found something else that does the job.
Usually,
there's so much out there.
Like Hartman Neuron is a case where that's not the case, so it's pretty special. Luckily, Stephen Bernsey modified the Mac version for a while. It's not on Intel yet, but it's running I'm not on the Mac Silicon yet, but it's on Intel as a newer version of the one that came out, and it runs beautifully. So occasionally the developer is still around, even though the company's dead, and he has access to tweak things and make things continue to work.
Well, one question I have, maybe you know the answer to this, Synthetic. When you're using VMs to connect up with like old editors, for example, like we've been talking about, do the modern VMs stuff? Does it do the USB pass through? Because you got to find a way to connect into that old OS, right? Over
Usually does, but your mileage may vary. So it really depends on how they wrote it, and which OS you're using, and a couple, other factors, obviously.
Well,
But
what I mean
like,
is from the
like,
host.
you tweaked your what's that keyboard computer thingy you've modified the hell out of? I have one of those too.
The Miko.
Yeah, the Miko. So I have a Miko that's stock. I wanted to keep the Timberland Miko stock because I think it's funny the way it is. But I know you've gutted it and made some clever stuff to it, and that also had to be modified to a point to allow it to work with.
It's just a regular ATX motherboard in there, so you just swap it out with a modern one, and
you just never really know because it could depend on what was the USB library the developers used in their application to talk to whatever, and is it one of these ones that works if it's only plugged in directly, not with an extension, and the moon is full, and then it works. And if you run it in a VM, it's going to say, "Oh, well, I don't see this, so it's not going to work." I mean,
it's like SCSI Voodoo, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Limitation though with some I don't know if it's like vSphere or Hypervisor. One of them, there might be one. Maybe it's VBox. I can't remember now.
VirtualBox, yeah.
Yeah, it's VirtualBox will do USB pass through from the host machine to the VM.
Yeah, that's true, but I have applications that will run only on bare metal, and if you run into VBox, whatever the library is that they use to access the USB, it says nope, it's not. It won't even see it. Oh. So it really depends on the application itself.
Gotcha.
This is kind of like what I brought the Mac thing earlier. Like VMac is meant for like Mac Plus era Macs or something older. Basilisk 2 came out for like Mac 2s and up to like, I don't know, like a Centris or something like that. And then Sheep Shaver was for stuff approaching OS 10 kind of level stuff. And but you have to have all these different things to accomplish this task because every developer makes things a little bit differently. Like Sheep Shaver, they forgot to put time base in it. So it does not work with MIDI at all because it has no proper MIDI time base to draw from. So you can't use any MIDI based thing on Sheep Shaver at all. Unfortunately.
I think we will take this topic for another time because it is a big topic, and I know Howard doesn't know a thing about virtual machines, and so let's keep that for another time.
Get carried away sometimes, so
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We haven't been on topic for a while.
Yeah. Well, there are only so many editors you can talk about, to be honest. So.
So let's wrap it up for today. I would like you to stay online to after we go offline. Sounds stupid. Please stay. don't log out. And then I will say thank you to the chatters and a little note about the noise show. I have a few part ones which will be continued, but I also have some new stuff I want to show. And there are updates to the torso too, so I also have to do something new with that one. But that will come later. Now we will end the show for today. It was nice to have you here, both the guests and the chatters and everybody who viewed it. We will be back in about 3 weeks' time, which is the usual time slot for the Senior Synth stream. So thanks for being here, and see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Sarah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Henrik.
Thanks, Henrik.
Bye.
Bye.